Visit any theme park in the world and it won't be long before you find some of your favorite fictional characters. Whether newly cemented animated stars or those beloved for generations, theme park characters are a fixture. That goes for stadium tours as well. At any given time, Marvel superheroes, Paw Patrol, or the denizens of Jurassic Park are slated to visit a town near you. There's no shortage of opportunity. However, during the Gen experience, it was a wish come true to meet your favorite 80s fantasy characters. But it wasn't just difficult, it was basically impossible. Although, for a brief moment, the most legendary characters from the 80s jumped off the screen and got in your face in the theme parks and stadium tours, and even malls. If you wait till the very end, I'll tell you what that's all about. Welcome back. This is the Gen Experience. I'm Victor, and I was there. There, waiting in line for those rare moments you can meet your most beloved character friends in real life, and then die happy. Let's explore 4 times these legends came to life in the real world. Please do me a favor and click the like, and while you're there, press subscribe. You won't regret it, and I know I'm going to appreciate it. So let's get started with this one. In early 1985, on the upper lot of Universal Studios Hollywood, or Universal Studios Tour, or the Entertainments, whatever they were calling themselves back then, He-Man was hot. And not just because of the California sunshine. He and his sister She-Ra and their friends not only did a unique meet and greet with their fans, but you could leave with a free action figure. Talk about awesomeness. Imagine a free figure. Of course, after the price of admission, which I imagine was $25 instead of the current $125. Taking place probably near the Knight Rider kit car experience, live and in-person meet and greets of our heroes alongside their friends like Buzz-Off, Mossman, Glimmer, Hordak, Catra, and even Skeletor, who surprisingly gave you a freebie toy, were a daily experience. Imagine facing your worst nightmare, a grimacing skullhead that had jumped off the TV screen to full-sized menace just to get the prize. The pics aren't the clearest, but besides the teddy bear fur trunks, He-Man looked fit enough for the role, and even his hair could have been worse. However, the rest of the team seemed to be made of average physiques, colored in colored unitards. I guess fabric muscle suits would have been too fakey up close, right? Well, not for long. Stay tuned to see when those supersized bodies of the Masters of the Universe made their first appearance. There was special advertising made for this unique character meet and greet back in 1985. But if we look at this one-sheet marketing poster, you see that there were also cartoon superstar weekends at the park. Look carefully. Alongside He-Man and his crowd, you will find Cabbage Patch Kids, Smurfs, Care Bears, and other 1980s intellectual properties. Surprisingly, even Marshall Bravestar is shown. He, like He-Man, looks like an actor who can talk and visit with guests. His appearance makes this marketing clearly later in 1987. And then there's that, right there, center stage, what I think to be, but I wish I was wrong, a Lion-O character. If Bravestar and He-Man can just be fit male actors, for God's sake, why make the Lord of the Thundercats in full costume with a giant mascot head? That is full-on Mayor McCheese. Well, they would fix that later in 1987, and by fix, I mean they would change it, but I'll let you judge of which was the better coming up. Stay tuned. I suppose as Universal Studios Hollywood had their own Conan Sword and Sorcery Live special effects show since 1983, they only had room for one barbarian, and He-Man would be short-lived, but that didn't mean they didn't bring in some other hot properties right afterwards. Staying at Universal, they seemed to embrace these marketing tie-ins and knew they could keep the turnstiles turning in the 80s with the next big thing. When He-Man exited stage right, the Transformers moved in for about 1 year, from late 1985 sometime into 86. Funny, with all the character comings and goings, Kit seemed to stick around and well into the 90s. What can only be described as a Megatron playground equipment serving as the entrance to the new meet and greet specially designed as a home base for the Transformers, a queue including a view screen playing cartoons and a stack of Energon cubes led the way as you walked up some steps to your favorite Transformers. Well, at least I think they were Transformers. You were supposed to be meeting Jazz, Grimlock, or Starscream. But with those reticulated dryer tubes and hockey gloves for hands, it was more like meeting Robbie the Robot, or worse, a GoBot. Where Megatron served as a climbing accessory, at least Optimus Prime got a prime spot above all the action. Unreachable, sure, but what do you expect from someone every kid put on a pedestal? Imagine meeting Starscream and looking into those eyes, only to see the eyes of a hot, sweating human man looking at you for mercy, crying on the inside as the painful costume keeps pinching him as he counts the minutes until his next break. Speaking of breaks, check out this break room with impeccable costume care. The costumes are very similar in construction from another official live Hasbro offering of the characters. Prizes in disguise. Kids could win a free party with the Transformers, this time with Jazz and Thundercracker, basically the blue Starscream. Although similar, there were some slight differences to these costumes, and I'm not sure if it was to streamline them and help the performer, but by the looks of it, comfort was out of the question. Lucky for everyone, after decades away from the spotlight, Universal did introduce the Transformers back to their parks in meet and greets in the form of the Bayverse versions of the characters. This time, Transformer characters guests really wanted to see make appearances daily, like Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and yes, Megatron. Megatron finally gets retribution from being an inanimate plaything in the past by being an imposing and quick-witted smartass who speaks live with guests.
Adios. Hasta la vista, baby.
It's a very popular offering. Who sells out 18 consecutive performances at Radio City Music Hall and is not the Rockettes? Masters of the Universe, of course. Back in action in the fall of 1985, the Power Tour traveled around the country was an early stadium tour to show off this exciting property. In perfect synergy by Mattel, this unique marketing kept the famous franchise in front of fans and consumers, diversifying into a mind-blowing musical extravaganza of good versus evil, and on roller skates. Led by the musical bard Songster, who really needs an official action figure by the way, this little Liberace of sword and sorcery led us through the introduction of the characters and through the first act, culminating in the villains taking control. After a short break so the audience can buy some merchandise, there is a coup by the heroic warriors in the second act that almost fails, probably because they're on skates, until finally She-Ra uses the castle's laser cannon to exact the final blow. Meet and greets with the characters came after the show, where I am sure the oversized and awkward stage costumes took everyone by surprise, as what may look great from the seats of an auditorium look downright laughable and possibly nightmarish up close when your head is smaller than your fabric-covered muscle suits. Although short-lived, it was so powerful of a show that He-Man and She-Ra even met George Bush Sr., seen here with an oversized speak and spell, possibly helping to communicate. The actors who play the leads still make appearances at PowerCon and other conventions and seem proud of their contributions, and it still look pretty powerful too. Here we have something that may not only be a surprise it ever even existed, but even more shocking is that it existed where heroes like Lion-O mingled alongside Gumby. Yes, that Gumby. This was Thundercats Live, another stadium show incorporating less of one cohesive story, but with the use of dancers and contemporary music, conveyed more of a musical review that included such characters as the ever-popular Street Frogs and Karate Cat. Well, at least there were the Thundercats' cousins, the Silverhawks. Because what screams musical theater more than anthropomorphic birds and cats? My mistake, cats do scream musical theater. Thundercats Live roared with the era's hip-hop music and breakdancing in 1987, but faded into obscurity with a tiny meow. No matter how I searched online, there was no trace of any footage from the actual show, but that may be a blessing in disguise. I'm sure you'll agree that even coming off the heels of the Power Tour, the costume budget did not improve. I'd look as disinterested as Panthro having to perform with a tumor on my head. These craft store costumes are one step above school play, and the actor doesn't even take time to shave his own mustache under the makeup. You can only hope they saved the children from an up-close and personal meet and greet after the show. Oh, and Chitara. That costume is simply an embellished background extra from Jane Fonda's workout video, complete with Aquanet hairdo. Holy creepy smirk, Snarf. This guy'd be booted from any respectable furries convention, but you can't blame him for that look. Who could turn away from Lion-O's impressive codpiece? All the performers here are giving the photographer full, this show better make payroll kind of looks. Perhaps the Thundercats couldn't stand alone in a show like He-Man, and therefore recruited other lesser-known IPs, including Tiger Sharks, so the poster said, but I have no evidence of that. If anyone has pictures or video of this show, I'd love to see it. Please share.
the show did not have the same power as He-Man or the same bang for the $80 ticket. Even with the Tron porn costume sported by Silverhawks, this show's demise was more like a mercy killing. Now, it may be no brainer to see Darth Vader daily at a Disney theme park now, but between 1977 and 1980, Darth went on a mall tour. Throngs of fans, including me, waited in line to meet the imposing villain and even got this autographed picture. Now, he didn't only do malls, but even car dealerships, and that's where I met him. But surprise, long before George Lucas cut his deal with the mouse, Darth Vader appeared in what is now Pin Traders at Walt Disney World's Lake Buena Vista Shopping Village, or Disney Springs. This idea must have come from the same brilliant minds as the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Today, it isn't uncommon to see hired models portray some of the most legendary Gen X characters at pop culture conventions around the world. But why bother? With all of the fantastic cosplay out there, you get that kind of publicity for free. Even with their longevity in pop culture, there is sadly nowhere to visit some of these favorite characters of the era. But I did hear He-Man and Barbie will soon have a place to call home with the opening of Mattel's theme park in Arizona in 2024. And this just was the 80s. I could go into the Power Rangers, Pokemon, Mortal Kombat, and even the Turtle shows that traveled the country, but that might be taking things just a bit too far. No matter how well loved some of these franchises remain, they don't always resonate with today's kids as much. But even though we don't have the Power Tour, it will always live in the Gen experience. Please take a look around at other great shows on the channel, like this one. Thanks for dropping by, and I hope you liked the show. If you did, click the like, and if you didn't, but you're still watching, I think you loved it, so click subscribe. Thanks again, and until next time.